complete opposite direction, because he's not limited. In Isaiah 55 it says, God's ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So I believe God might be having very different thoughts from the ones we have, and a very different message for someone. So also find me on Facebook, Kelvin Obonyo. Those who interact with me even on Instagram, it is still Kelvin Obonyo. On Twitter, all of them, just go type Kelvin Obonyo. You'll find me there. Let's get talking. I like those people usually send me their questions, the ones I can. I usually answer during these teachings. I know some people usually get answers to their questions even as I continue ministering. So today, as you can see, we'll be sharing on this topic of pursue, because I'd posted even something on my social media about David praying, shall I pursue, and not shall we. And I had said that sometimes it is wise to pray, shall I pursue, because the people around you are tired. You cannot depend on them. When you pray, shall we pursue, you might be surprised there is no we. It is only I, because the people with you left you a long time ago. So now I want us to look at it. Today I want us to look at it in its entirety. And I'll still be in 1 Samuel chapter 30. Write down somewhere. Those who are watching don't have their Bibles close by. Write down. Those who have their Bibles, let's open. Go to 1 Samuel chapter 30. And now I'm taking it from verse 9. Okay? You can go start from verse 1. You will get the whole gist of the story, but I'm starting from verse 9, and listen to what 1 Samuel chapter 30 verse 9. So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the brook Besor, where those stayed were left behind. But David pursued, he and 400 men. And it says, for 200 stayed behind, who were so weary that they could not cross the brook Besor. This word today, where we are picking it up from, is a word that I believe is going to help ministers, both ministers of God, the women and men of God, and even for us, the members, everyone who's listening. I believe there's a portion you will get that is yours. This portion of scripture says David had 600 men, but 200 men remained. So David only pursued with 400 men. 200 men were left at the valley because they were too weary. They were too discouraged to cross over. You see, for those who've never read the story, let me give you a brief overview of what happens from verse 1. This is a story whereby David comes back and finds Ziklag, where he was living with his 2 wives. The place has been burnt. His wives have been taken. And even the men with David, their wives had been taken. So they actually came back home to find nothing. And so that's why these people were weeping. They were crying and they were saying, what is this? We've come back home to find nothing. And so now David prayed and asked the Lord, shall I pursue? And the Lord gave him the go-ahead and told him, yes, pursue. But then as David is pursuing these people, 200 men are too tired. They are too discouraged. They are heavy in their heart, heavy in their spirit. They are doubting whether their wives will still be alive, because they are imagining, like the way we saw on the news in Nigeria, 200 girls were abducted. They were abducted by a terrorist group. So people are not even sure if these girls are alive. So you can imagine the strength in these people had left them. They are not sure if their daughters are still alive. They are not sure. And so 200 men who are like that were left. And that's why I've started at verse 9. I've started at verse 9 so that by the wisdom and the grace of God, we may learn that sometimes it is wise to leave the people who will infect the entire camp, the entire church, with a spirit of fear. Gideon was told, I want you to tell everyone that is fearful to go back. Remember the story of Gideon? What shocked me is when Gideon said that statement, that anyone who is afraid, I want you to get up right now and please go back home. Do you know how many people left? 22,000 people. Imagine, not 200, not 500 people. 22,000 people left because they were afraid. And Gideon must have thought, oh my God, I'm finished. Now who am I supposed to go with battle? And you know the funny thing, God told him, even the ones you still have, they are too many. I will still separate them for you. Most of the time as pastors, as leaders, you are afraid of releasing people with a contaminating spirit, thinking that you are keeping your church intact. At the end of the day, you are scattering it worse than it was before. Because the 200 fearful men will tell these other 400, if you go for battle, you will die. These people are strong. At the end of the day, you will not be left with a church. You'd rather lose the 200. Let them stay. If they are fearful, tell them, you stay at home. Come back when you have some strength. When you're going for battle, don't involve everyone. No wonder people do Christian missions. They understand the sensitivity of the matter, that when you're going for Christian missions, not everyone tags along. Most times, many people will write their names. If you're doing a Christian mission, many people will write their names. I'm telling you, but on the day that you're supposed to leave, you'll hear funny stories. Someone will call you and say, hey, I'm sorry, I woke up in the morning, there was no electricity, I could not iron my clothes. Another one will tell you, I'm sorry, I did not hear my alarm. We were to meet in town at 6 a.m. I'm just waking up right now at 7:30. People always come up with funny stories because they don't understand that when you are going for battle, not everyone can fight. Not everyone has the right spirit. There are people who have a heavy spirit. If you allow them to mingle with the rest, they will cause the rest not to fight. So there are people today, as you are listening to this word, there are people you are carrying and you should have left them in the valley. Leave them there. They are too tired to climb the mountain. Stop carrying them on your back. Because you know what? At the end of the day, none of you will make it. I once saw a lifeguard. I think it was a documentary for these lifesavers. And a lifeguard was seeing a certain woman drown. This woman was drowning in the ocean. And she was screaming and crying for help. And one thing I remember this lifeguard said, that I waited a little longer. As I was going towards the lady, I told her to stop fighting because the lady was fighting with the water. You know, she's trying to hold on to something, and you're in the ocean. You know, when you're in the ocean, you cannot hold on to anything. It is water everywhere. And so this lifeguard was saying that he was even hoping for this lady to pass out fast. You know, when you drink quite a large amount of water, you reach a place, you pass out, and then they have to take you out of the water and resuscitate you. He was saying because somebody who is passed out is easier to help than somebody who is fighting. Somebody who is fighting can cause both of you to drown. Because the person is trying to hold on to anything that they can find, anything that is close by. So you can imagine if I'm coming to save you, you will grab me and you will grab me by the neck and we will both drown. Sometimes there are people, you need to leave them at the valley first, then come back when you're in a position to help them so that you don't drown both of you. Stop trying to help someone who's in a state of hopelessness and does not want to be encouraged and does not want to hear anything. I told you there's this story of a man who was on a bridge in New York. He wanted to commit suicide. So he was on the bridge and he wanted to jump. He wanted to commit suicide. And somebody came and wanted to talk him out. Somebody came and was telling him, no, please don't jump. Come over, you'll fall. Let's just talk about this. And after 2 hours, they both jumped. Because that is how infectious a bad spirit is. When you sit down for long with somebody who is suicidal, I'm telling you, you might also become suicidal. They will tell you why they are justified to die. They will tell you how God has not been faithful. And then you also start realizing, by the way, I've also been praying for God to give me a husband, and he has not. So you also become polluted. If you work with people who all the time keep telling you how life is hard, the next time we will meet with you, you'll just be saying, hey, life is hard. Hey, right now there is COVID. And you wonder, what is the problem with this guy? They have worked with somebody who keeps professing negative things. That's why I used to have like a small diary. I would encourage you to go and do this. I used to have a small notebook. Every person I met, the people, you know, there's always these people we interact with every day, right? There are people you go to church with. There are people you work together with, your colleagues. There are people, in short, you cannot avoid them. Others are family members and relatives. There are people that in a week you interact with them maybe 4 to 5 times. You just have to see them. So I had to keep a record. And I used to write, when I meet with this person, how do I always feel? And so I realized I had a list of people that when I met with them, by the time we are parting ways, I always felt drained. By the time everyone is going their way, I always felt like power has left me. I am empty. I am dry. Because this person will always tell you how they don't have money. Life is bad. Kevin, I think this world is coming to an end. They go on and on. And so you know what I did? I limited my time. I started to isolate. If I was giving you 4 hours or 2 hours, I now started giving the person 20 minutes. And then I'm like, excuse me, I need to be somewhere else. Because I know if I give this person 1 hour and all they are talking is negative, this person will cause me to also be negative. And then I looked at my list and I looked at the people that after interacting with them, I feel encouraged. I feel good. What did I do? I increased the time with this kind of people. The people who challenge me. People who ask me the tough questions. So, what is your plan on your new house that you want to build? Where do you want to build? But not these people always telling you in Kenya you cannot build, there is no money. Can you go to your list and scrap off those people? People who are telling you it is not doable. Just spend 5 minutes with them and escape. 5 minutes is for you to try to talk hope into them. You see, I'm not telling you to avoid them totally, because then who will help them? If I run away from these people, then who will help them? I have to help them, but I have to guard my spirit. I have to guard my soul. And so David knew this secret. And in verse 9, David said, these 200 men who love to complain, they always love to say how things are difficult. We are not working with such kind of people. In this year, can you purpose that the people always telling you how difficult it is, can you isolate them for a moment? Some people, you keep the company of negative people for so long that nowadays you're also negative. You are bitter over petty things. Simple news headline, you have to comment. What is wrong with this government? What is wrong with this country? Remember I told you, as a Christian, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. Sometimes keep quiet. I see a lot that happens in this nation. A lot. But you'll rarely find me commenting on political issues on my Facebook and on my social groups. It's not that I don't have an opinion. Sometimes you have to wait for the right timing. Not just talking all the time, giving your opinion all the time. Because as I like saying, the book of Proverbs has said, a fool delights in airing his own opinion. If you see somebody who's always very opinionated, remember, fool. When you see somebody like that, just say, fool. They like to give their opinion on everything, even things they have not been asked. They just want to give their opinion. But the same book, Proverbs, says, if a fool holds his tongue, even if you are a fool and you hold your tongue, Proverbs says you will be thought to be wise. People will think you are wise simply because you've held your tongue. But a fool delights in airing his own opinion. They have to talk about how prices have dropped in the diesel and in the petrol. They have to give an opinion. When the prices go up, they have to give an opinion all the time. Let's continue. That was now David saying, I'm leaving these people here because they have a bad spirit. So 200 stayed behind and the rest moved forward. Now listen to what verse 11. While the army of David was pursuing, something happens in verse 11. 1 Samuel, remember we're in 1 Samuel chapter 30. Now I'm in verse 11. Verse 11 says, then they found an Egyptian in the field and brought him to David. And they gave him bread and he ate, and they let him drink water. And they gave him a piece of cake and 2 clusters of raisins. So when he had eaten, his strength came back to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drank no water for 3 days and 3 nights. And then David now started questioning him. Now I want to explain this part. When the Amalekites came and they destroyed where David was living, and they took away the wives of David, the children, when they took away everything, they made one blunder. They left one of their own behind. If you have watched movies about the military, the army, even when you watch these movies, how the army, like the US Army, they usually have their own very strict policies and very strong guidelines that guide them. And one of them are usually things like they never leave a soldier behind. Because they know the terrorists will come, pick that soldier, torture that soldier, ask that soldier questions. Where do you guys train? How do you do ABCD? So they never leave a soldier behind. And so now that has led me to my second point. Because remember the first point, we were talking about releasing tired people. That was my first point. That if you are a pastor, you are a leader, even a church member, leave people who are negative. Don't carry them always. You don't always have to go to the salon and spend 2 hours with women who are telling you how marriage does not work. You will come back and you will break your own family. If you have to avoid staying more than you should in the salon, do it. If you have to sacrifice that sweet gossip, sacrifice it. If you are working in an office and every time during lunch break, people talk dirty things, people talk things which come and dirtify your spirit and your soul, you might have to do a little bit of sacrifice. Maybe go and have lunch alone. Sometimes that is the price you have to pay to guard what God has given you. You don't have to eat with everyone during lunchtime. When your office takes a break, go somewhere private, eat alone, buy your fruits. Tell God, this 1 hour lunch break that we have, I'm going to dedicate it to just coming and listening to some worship song and just whispering a prayer to God. Then you go back to the office. Instead of just sitting there and saying, now you know this is where I work, where will I go? You will not get by with such flimsy excuses in life. Stop having excuses. There's somebody who said excuses are the building materials of a collapsing house. If you want your house to collapse, build it with excuses. Oh, I could have done that, but I could have gone to school, but I could have been a good person, but you always have a reason, an excuse. You will be too old by the time you realize your excuses did not give you a validation to be a failure. So that was the first point. The people, release them. The ones who need to be left, who will spread fear and gossip in the church, leave them at the valley. Leave them there. And then now point number 2. Do not work with the people who have a slave mentality. And I was explaining it with this Egyptian. You see, in the Bible, Egypt represents slavery. And so that's why I'm saying my point number 2 is do not work with people who have a slave mentality. Why should we avoid working with people who have a slave mentality? Why should you avoid people who have a slave mentality in your team if you want to go far? This is the reason. When David and his men found this Egyptian, they only gave him food. You can see the verse I've read. When they found him in the field, they brought him to David. They gave him some bread and he ate. Just bread. He said, let me tell you where these people have gone. And the man spilled all the secrets. And you see, that's what I was telling about the US Army. They never leave anyone behind because they know you will tell their secrets. You might open your mouth. Now, that is the problem when you work with people who have a slave mentality like this Egyptian. Because the moment he was given the thing which he lacks, he changed his loyalty. If you have slave mentality employees, the moment they'll be given the thing they lack, they will leave you. They will shift their allegiance. They will say, hey, I no longer work for Kevin. So and so called me and gave me 200,000. Hey, you think you'll ever see them again? You will not. Because you are the people who had a slave mentality. The moment they are given food, they betray you. You remember Judas? His loyalty ended the moment he was given 30 pieces of silver. Imagine 30 pieces. When you are working with people who are in lack, it is very dangerous. That is why we are supposed to yearn to build people who are working with us. I tell people I wouldn't want to be a pastor. Thank God for the pastors who are blessed, but I wouldn't want to be a pastor who drives a Range Rover, who drives a Mercedes, who lives in a big house, and my members are poor. Let me tell you the danger of that. The moment somebody comes and gives these people food and money, these people will betray you. They will tell people, in fact, you see that Pastor Kevin, that man is a devil worshipper. Because now they are trying to soil your name because they are bitter with you. They are wondering, why is Kelvin the only one with a Mercedes in this church? I'm telling you, poor people will give you problems in your team. Build them up. Because you can see this Egyptian, he caused his entire army to be killed because he sold them out to David. He told David where these people were. The reason David was able to pursue and recover all, because you can see our topic today is to pursue. The reason David was able to do that was because of one betrayer, an Egyptian. Because David didn't know where to go. He did not have GPRS. You know, nowadays we have Google Maps. These people didn't have that. But one unfaithful soldier, one disloyal member, let me tell you, one unfaithful member in church can destroy an entire church. Just one. When he comes to church on Sunday, you see him smiling or you see her smiling. They are your head usher. That's why I am praying, may God release a prophetic anointing upon men and women of God. May your eyes begin to see. Because some of you, you are head usher, you are Sunday school coordinator, you are praise and worship leader. That is the person who goes out and tells people, our church, hey, that pastor, he is not even in good terms with his wife. In fact, they divorced. Our pastor is a very wicked man. That man, I'm sure he beats his wife. And then as a pastor, you come to church every Sunday, 10 people have left, until you're wondering, am I not fasting? Am I not praying? You have no idea. There is an unfaithful soldier, an Egyptian in the camp. Because this Egyptian just betrayed his entire army and spilled the secrets. And David was able to go and locate that army. And they were all wiped out. They actually, 400 of them ran away. If you finish the entire story. May God open our eyes that we will begin to see people in your life who laugh with you. They smile with you. But the moment they go to the enemy's camp and they are given a little money, they spill all your secrets. They start telling people how that ministry does not bless them. The moment they are released, they go to other places and start saying, in fact, don't even watch those people. Those people don't even serve the God we serve. They are wicked. One unfaithful soldier can scatter an entire army. There's a story, a sad story, but it is true, about martyrs. There's a book I was reading. I love reading it. It's called Extreme Devotion. If you can get it, go get it, read it. It is a book full of stories of martyrs, true stories of people in the past who died because of their faith in Jesus. And imagine these are written, documented accounts, stories that happened in China, in Sudan, places that the Muslims used to kill the Christians. They didn't have sympathy for them. And so there were these two Chinese girls, and their pastor who had led them to Christ, preached to them, taught them the word of God. One day, of course, in the early years, China used to, I think they still have, but they used to have so many concentration camps where they will torture Christians. And so Christians used to even meet underground home fellowships. And so there's one pastor who, when caught with these police, the extremists, they told him, if you can show us where the fellowship is, if you can show us where that church is, we will spare you and your family. But if you do not show us, we will kill all of you. And this pastor betrayed the fellowship. And he took the policemen to the underground church. And the policemen shot all these church members. And they all died. And they died joyfully. People said that these people died singing. And you know what was sad? After they did that, they turned to the pastor who had led them there. And they also shot him and his family. They still killed him. The pastor who had betrayed the fellowship because he was trying to save his own life. So he was told, if you can show us where these people meet, we will let you live. And he thought he was safe. So you can imagine he lost his life, and I believe he lost his soul, because I don't think he went to heaven. Listen, disloyalty. When you work with people who at the slightest hit, they betray you, they can end up finishing an entire church, because one betrayal from this pastor caused this entire underground fellowship to be finished, because everyone was shot. So just one person left behind, a disloyal member, can mess you guys up. That's why David was wise to say, anyone who is not for us, please remain behind. I'm telling you, sometimes it is not pride, it is not arrogance, sometimes it is wisdom to just tell people, if you are not for me, I'm not forcing you, just go back. Don't force everyone to love you. Sometimes it is wise to accept what it is. If somebody doesn't love you, accept it. Sometimes it is wise to just accept things as they are. I've seen women who are being beaten by their husbands, and because people don't want to accept what it is, that this is a bad marriage, that these people need to take some time off to be counseled so that maybe they can come back together after they receive help. But I see so many women who say, no, I was told to persevere, I was told this is my home, this is my husband, and then I've heard of those stories of those ladies being killed. They died trying to hold on. Why? because they didn't want to face what it was. David just faced the reality that these people, they are not for me. They want to stone me. If you go and read that story, there's a place they were talking of stoning David. Sometimes it will spare you a lot of heartbreak if you can accept things early on in life. Same to men. There was a time we had so many sad stories of men killing women because they've been rejected. And you see, it is this thing I'm saying. The sooner you accept something, the better for you. Just accept that that lady rejected you. It is painful. We have all been rejected at some point in life. The sooner you accept that, the better for you. Stop being bitter and saying, I cannot believe it. How can that man leave me? 20 years, you are still bitter with your ex-husband because you have never accepted that this guy left you. 20 years, you are still bitter with your children because you have never accepted that they grew up and left and went and started their own families. So you are now a bitter old woman, a bitter old man. You are trying to complicate the life of your children. You're always going to their home and disturbing them because we are people who have refused to accept, like David. He accepts that these people are not for me. You don't love me and I accept it. You don't have to love me. When you become that, you have the highest freedom in life. The highest freedom in life is when people's opinion, people's preferences don't affect you so much anymore. When you are no longer doing things to get people's acceptance, I'm telling you, you're experiencing the highest form of freedom in this life. When people's opinion don't determine who you are in Christ. Because David said, I don't care whether 200 people hate me. You people are not God. And for all I care, you can go to the valley. Some people would have said you can go to hell, right? David said, I don't care. You can all go to the valley. Mrudi kwenyu kama mtaki. Because he understood that your acceptance does not build me up. But because most of us don't want to deal with that we were rejected, we keep clinging to people, hoping they will accept us. And the people you are clinging to are the ones who are destroying the church. They are the ones who are telling members you are a devil worshipper. They are the ones who are scattering your husband because they are telling your husband how you are not a submissive wife. These people you are clinging to, can you leave them at the valley like David? Because David said it is not worth it. These people need to be left. The husband you are clinging on too tightly, who beats you, he will keep saying that even though he beats you, you don't go anywhere. One day he will kill you. Sometimes you just need to accept things as they are and say, no, sweetheart, this is not right. We need help. Go get a counselor. Walk with your best couple. Go to your bishop. Go to a man of God. But when you are too proud to accept that you have reached your end, uko na kiburi na umefika mwisho. Sasa utasaidiwa aje? How will you be helped? I think we need to continue because of time. So, these people have fed this man. This man took them to where the Amalekites were celebrating. And I'm finishing because of time, and I'm finishing with this area. When David reached the camp where the Amalekites had taken his wives, his stuff, his property, David found these people celebrating. These people were dancing and partying. I've told you because of time I want to finish with that as the last point. These people were partying. They were having a celebration. And this is the point, my last point that I want to introduce before we part ways today. Be very wary and careful after a big victory. Be very wary and careful. In other words, be watchful after a great victory. I've saved the best for last. I want to explain why. These people had gotten victory. They had taken the property of David. They had taken their gold, their silver, their women, their children. And now they let down their their guard. They were no longer watching. And that's why David was able to come in and wreak havoc again. Most people, and even men of God and women of God, I will tell you this. Most people, I think in fact it is all pastors, all men of God, you are most vulnerable after a great victory. It is not even most people, it is all people. All people are vulnerable after a great victory. Ask me why. Because after a great victory, you develop some form of pride and you let your guard down. You start to say like David, now I am the king. I do not need to go for battle. So what happened? He let his guard down and he saw a naked woman bathing. And it says it was a time he was supposed to be where? In war. After a great victory, after a pastor has built a 5,000-seater church, they no longer wake up for prayers. They now leave the intercessors to pray. Pastors, as we come to preach. We arrive at church at 9:30 just to give the word and to get out. We are in our offices taking some snack and juice as the praise and worship is worshiping. Because for them, they have not reached where we have reached. So we wait for them to pray. We wait for the praise and worship. Then when the announcement is going on, you see some people running inside with the Bible of the pastor. They place it on the table. They come with the juice of the pastor. They place it on the table. Then after tithes and offerings, let's pray for the tithes and offerings before we listen to the word. The man of God now walks in. Why? Because we have become like David. We are most vulnerable after a great victory. We think because we've built a church that has 10,000 members, we think that has now impressed God. Unadhani Mungu ameshtuka na wewe. We forget that we are mere men. God can just snap his finger like this and we are gone. And we allow pride to get in our head. And now we are no longer coming to church to pray at 6 a.m. like we used to pray when you are living in a Mabati house. Because now you are living in Runda. You don't see why you should wake up early. Everyone is most vulnerable after a great victory. That is when we always let our guards down. Because now I cannot come to church. Why? Because now I bought a car and I need to take it to car wash on Sunday. I'm busy Monday to Saturday. I work from Monday to Friday. On Saturday you go to work up to half day. And then you need to sleep and rest and recover your sleep for the week. So which is the day you have left? Sunday. So now Sunday, you need to go and do wheel alignment. I need to know if my wheels are okay. The same car you used to come to church at 6 a.m. to pray for has now become your curse. Because now you have to take it for service. Now you have to take it for car wash. The same husband people used to come to Keshas to pray for, now you are not coming to church because you are cooking for that husband. Now that husband has become an idol. No wonder some don't even keep them. You experience divorce, then you come back again to God crying. I think I'm being too harsh, right? Let me stop. But this is what I'm saying. You used to pray. Monday you were in church for the prayer meetings because you were poor. Now you bought a plasma TV and you can't come to church. Why? Because you want to watch news. Nowadays you are a wise Christian. You want to watch news and know what is happening. So does that mean you were foolish before when you used to come to church to pray? Many people let down their guards after a great victory. And that's why I tell people, most Sundays, after I finish preaching, I don't like seeing anyone. I like being alone, even on Mondays, because I'm regenerating. I know I am vulnerable because after a great victory, after a great ministration, you are the most vulnerable at that time. There's a pastor who was saying that he went to a mountain, prayer and fasting, 5 days. The day he broke the fast and came back to his house, a lady friend visited him. And they fell. They had sex. They fell 5 days. prayer and fasting. Unakuja kufungua fast na sex. He had sex on the 6th day. Because you are most vulnerable at that time. You feel like you have given God too much and you are not seeing any result. So that is the best time for the enemy to hit you. And if you don't believe me, which time did the devil appear to Jesus? After 40 days of fasting. That's the time the devil told Jesus, hey, listen, I know you are hungry. Why can't we turn these stones into bread? And Jesus knew this man is playing with my mind because he knows I'm hungry. The day you experience a spiritual high, guard yourself, because I'm telling you that is the time you are most vulnerable, like Elijah. The moment he killed 450 prophets of Baal, the moment he finished that, do you know what followed next? Suicide. Elijah told God, I want to die. No, this is too much. Kill me. And God told him, stop your whining. You are whining like a little child. He told him, in fact, I reserve 7,000 who have not bowed to Baal. Do you know why? Because Elijah didn't know this secret. That after you have experienced a spiritual high, killing 450 prophets, you are most likely to feel empty and vulnerable and to just feel alone and to feel like dying. And that's why some of the most depressed people are pastors and pastors' wives. Because after ministering to hundreds and thousands of people, they go home. Nobody even cares about their problem. They are always bringing theirs. Pastor, pray for me. My husband slapped me. Pastor, I don't have rent. Have you ever thought, what about them? Who do they cry to when they have reached their end? Most of the time, they have no one. And that's why the Bible says in that 1 Samuel chapter 30, David encouraged himself in the Lord. Do you know why? He had no one to encourage him. The people had David to encourage them. But who did David have? David had nobody. So David encouraged himself in the Lord. If you are watching me and you rarely have anyone to encourage you, I'm telling you today, don't give up. Encourage yourself in the Lord and pursue. Pursue your blessing. Pursue your victory. You shall surely recover all. May the Lord bless you till we meet again. Remember to pursue. Follow me on Facebook, Kelvin Obonyo. Let's get chatting. Let's interact. Go and also click on JTV to get this, because there are people who might want to rewatch and to even share. Share this to your groups and your friends, and I believe they'll be blessed. The Lord bless you till we meet again. Bye.